Welcome to the Mike Miller Show.
Happy Friday, folks. Happy Friday, America. We like Fridays, Jessica, don't we?
Yes, we do.
I mean, the weekend's coming up, but we like Friday shows. They're a little more laid back. On the weekends at Independent Journal Review, we try to be a little bit more laid back. So I kind of get in that glide path Friday afternoon. Anyway, you guys, welcome. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends. Spread the word. And a couple of just kind of humorous things I want to kick this off with. Is that okay with you?
Works for me.
One of them actually is just completely random, and I wanted to talk about this last weekend. I tell my wife stuff all the time that I think is hilarious, and she looks at me like and shakes her head like, that's not really funny. But anyway, so the New York Times, the story, this is the best correction in the history of newspapers. Okay, the story itself is not humorous. The headline was Muslim leaders wage theological battle, stoking ISIS's anger. Okay, straight up story, and it goes on to talk about various Muslim religious leaders and the steps they're taking to combat radical Islam. So it's a serious story. Okay, and so I don't know how this happened. I mean, somebody slipped something in, and to see if they could get away with it, and maybe got fired if they got caught. So anyway, here's the correction. Because of an editing error, an article appeared on Monday about a theological battle being fought by Muslim imams and scholars in the West against the Islamic State, misstated the Snapchat handle used by Sahib Webb, one of the Muslim leaders speaking out. It is Imam Sahib Webb, not Pimpin' for Paradise 786.
Oh my gosh. That's a very big difference.
Yeah, and it's Pimpin' and then the number 4, Paradise 786.
All right.
Like, how does that get by an editor?
That's really funny.
It is Imam Sahib Webb, not Pimpin' for Paradise 786. I'd lost it when I saw that. I thought that was pretty funny.
I mean, it is hilarious. That's really, really funny. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a typo.
Yeah.
Yeah, new group out to stop Trump. Tramps for Trump. Have you seen that?
Tramps for Trump?
Yeah, this is legitimate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, these women have promised to, if you take a, let me see if I can get to the post. This is actually real. Here's a Tramps for Trump against Trump. Hope nudes will help. They promise, their plan to stop Trump is that they promised to send naked pictures, if you will, to anyone who will take a picture of themselves standing in front of a voting booth. There's no way you can prove that you're not voting for Trump, but to send a picture and, in effect, I guess, pledge that you're not voting for Trump, and in exchange for that, they will send you a naked picture.
But they called themselves Tramps for Trump?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, they really do. Now, somebody on Facebook suggested that, there's no, young dude or any dude in the country that would pretend not to vote for Trump to get a picture of some random woman that they don't know, right? That would never happen.
Well, yeah, seriously. And the thing is, I don't know, I don't know if it's just Florida law, but I thought you can't even take cameras into voting booths. I guess with phones.
I think maybe outside of a polling station. Yeah, not. Yeah. I said booth, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably outside of a polling station. And maybe it's a publicity thing for them, but I mean, they're pretty they're pretty hell bent on it as it reads. But Trans for Trump, that's got kind of a nice ring to it.
It does, but it makes it sound like you want people to vote for Trump. It's very misleading for them.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But that is the name of it, Tramps for Trump.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they thought that one through. If
you know what, I need to
opposite.
Maybe I have it wrong. Let's fire up the Google if we can, because it should be Tramps against Trump. Oh, that's it. I said Tramps for Trump. It's Tramps against Trump.
Okay, now that makes a lot more
see,
sense.
that's
I was like, wait, they did not think this through.
Yeah, see, well, I just, yeah.
Okay.
Our
own clarification.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Now, as we speak, I'm going to send you. I put this on Facebook earlier, but this is not the link that I posted to Facebook because of the feature image. It involves fruit. I just sent this to you. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see the fruit.
See, like I don't think that's necessary.
Yes, it doesn't look good. No.
No, I don't think that's probably.
Oh my gosh, not appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that fruit is on the left.
It's deformed, I think.
I think it is deformed for
yes.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I want to back up the bus, and actually, this actually works out well. Remember, on Wednesday, I wanted to talk about the 500.
Yes.
The 100th running of the Indianapolis 500, the greatest race on the planet, as it is known. The greatest spectacle in racing. But I want to talk about it from a couple perspectives, and I thought, well, crap, it's like Friday, it's coming up on a week. But the part I primarily want to talk about dovetails with something that's been happening since Wednesday that is a perfect tie-in. But first of all, Jessica, it's the single largest sporting event on the planet. You know that, right?
Yes, I told me before. I
Yeah,
am very aware.
350 and 400,000 people. I mean, they don't release the gate. They never have. But everybody doesn't. But I think people generally, there are those that know, like if every seat in the place is sold out, how many people that is, and then you estimate by looking at the infield. So I mean, this thing was it was sold out. It was just fantastic. Lady Gaga was there. Did I tell you this?
I did not know about that. That's interesting.
Gaga was there.
Yeah, okay.
And so they do all these different parade things around the track, pre-race, and they have an occasional celebrity ride around and stuff, and old retired artists. But they have this this specially built Indy car that they've had for a while. It's a 2-seater, front to back.
Oh, cool.
So somebody, and I missed who it was. It doesn't matter, but it's usually like a retired driver or somebody that knows what they're doing. So Gaga is in the seat behind him, and they go around a couple of times. Just probably, I don't know what they're driving, 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. But the last time they came around, I'm guessing it was about 100.5, and she was like all into it. So she got kind of kudos for it. And she didn't sing. She was just there. She showed up with Mario Andretti, 120 to 7-year-old Mario Andretti. So, so that was kind of fun. But one thing that the Speedway has always done, and I used to live out at the track in the 70s. I mean, I've been to the races a zillion times. But obviously, it's on Memorial Day.
Yes.
Well, the day before, and the tribute that the Motor Speedway IMS has always paid to the military is just I hate to say goosebumpy, but it's just incredible. I mean, that it ends with like this time it was a tight formation flyover of 4 F-18s, and it's just really cool the stuff that they do. But this year they had as many as they could find people. Indianapolis survivors of Pearl Harbor. So they brought those guys out. That was kind of cool. But just the tributes on the big screens and stuff. They have screens all the way around the track. So you can kind of be watching it on, if you will, on TV and live at the same time.
That's really cool.
Yeah, like when it was going to come on, they're saying, okay, so we go live on ABC around the world in, however many minutes. And then so they got it down to, okay, we're going to do a 30-second countdown, and then when we go live on ABC, we'll want everybody to stand and welcome, so it's just very cool what they do. What they do, but I found myself thinking, because there's a lot of stuff about America, like just patriotism, right? I mean, not just Memorial Day and the sacrifices made on behalf of all of us by people who not only paid the supreme price, but came back and were able to enjoy the freedom that they helped win. But there's just a whole bunch of that goes on, and I actually found myself thinking, like, wondering what some left-wing loon flipping through the channels, the disgust that they might have had they stopped. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's too many people like that. It's weird because you see patriotism, and then I have definitely met people that are just like hate America, even though they live here. But it's I don't know, but I guess
I'm not suggesting that liberals. That's mutually exclusive. That if you're a liberal, that you're an America hater. But we know there is that far left that hates his country.
Oh yeah.
And you see it. You see some of it to an extent going on at the anti-Trump rallies. Another big one, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but another huge one in San Jose last night. And this is virulent stuff being, at least I hope in this country, are as patriotic as the rest of us. And I suspect that that's the case. But I'm talking about that kind of virulent left. And I have some people, frankly, in my extended family who I don't necessarily believe hate the country, but I think they believe, as I believe Barack Obama believes, and many on the left, that this country, and you've heard me say this before, it got where it got based on exploiting, bullying the rest of the world. The infrastructure was built on the back of slaves. In fact, Michelle Obama, speaking today, said, "I wake up each day in a house built by slaves." Now,
Lord.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I wake up each day in a country whose president has done everything he possibly could to destroy it as we know it, but get over it. But there is that large element of the left that, no, they don't hate the country and they don't want it to be burned to the ground, but that they resent what it stands for. They resent the military. I believe, and I've said this before multiple times, I believe Barack Obama resents the military, hence he's basically decimated it as much as possible over the last 8 years. Now, that's ostensibly and primarily to free up money, to continue to build the nanny state, but that's here or there. But sure, there are lots of folks in this country who don't look at they don't agree with what a lot of us believe the country stands for. To them, it means a lot of different stuff. But at any rate,
yes.
I just kind of found myself thinking about that just a little bit. I mean, I wasn't dwelling on it because this was a magnificent. This is all pre-race. I mean, this is a magnificent event. As luck would have it, there were one guy from Texas and the other one from Virginia sitting in front of me. The guy directly in front of me, his 97-year-old father, who had been a POW in Germany during World War II, had died the previous week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he and I talked about that, and, you've heard me say this before. In fact, typically on Memorial Day, although I did not do it this year, I have something I wrote about my dad years ago that I kind of post annually. My dad was a tank commander, hit the beach on Iwo Jima the first day, and it was a horrific war and the whole bit. Long story. But so that was cool, talking to him about that kind of shared thing. And then the guy sitting right next to him is a badass Marine. That's a
wow.
badass looking Marine. Like he looked like if he could just look at you and break you in half.
Wow.
Right. Had the USMC hat on, and when you talked, or just kind of on the back, it wasn't military, just kind of something cool he had. But you don't ask those guys, "Were you a Marine?" It's once a Marine, always a Marine, right?
Yeah.
So I said, "Obviously you're a Marine, man," right? He goes, "Yeah." So I kind of paraphrased, this conversation I had with the other guy about my dad and Elon and stuff, and then he brings up Obama and the Hiroshima speech. Remember we talked about that,
yeah.
Which was a non-apology apology. He all but apologized, and the line about when he's at Hiroshima, and to those of you on our side, that would be conservatives who have said vicious stuff about Obama apologizing. He did not apologize. I mean, he came as close as he possibly could, and he probably would have had he been able to get away with it. But that line about death fell from the sky, and we talked about this on the show. You know, he conveniently forgot to say that, well, death fell from the sky at Pearl Harbor as well. But at any rate, so I'm talking to this Marine, and I bring up that part, and he looks at me, he goes, damn right. And then he says, this is a badass Marine. He goes, we didn't start it, but we sure as hell finished it. And I just liked that. I don't know. That kind of sounds like all Rambo and everything. But
very much so.
But yeah, so race was fantastic. You know, we don't need to go through that. But that is just an event that I think even people who just like excitement that are not necessarily race car fans, let alone open wheel racing, which to me is real racing. I mean, Indy cars are the fastest car on the planet, race car. Sorry, F1, you're more sophisticated, but yeah, and NASCAR guys are, you know, whatever. But needs to go to that thing just one time. It is just...
I do want to go one time to the Indy. I went to Daytona, and I thought it was interesting. I was very surprised, like, how into it people get, because it's a whole week event over there.
Yeah, well, it used to be a whole month, and of course they're here for about half of the month, you know, practicing and whatever. Yeah. Got some guys on TV, some people on TV in terms of how many consecutive times they've been to the race. Mm-hmm. Guess how many years the top guy?
Guess how many years?
Yeah, in a row, this guy has been to the 500.
I'm gonna guess maybe 20.
90.
90. What?
When he had pictures, his grandpa took him when he was
my gosh, that's so crazy.
10 years old, and he's been every year since.
Wow, that's
there were a lot
amazing.
of people like at 50 and 45 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, anyway, so we got to move on, but everybody needs to hit that one time. Okay, so I said I could tie this and want to tie it to Curt Schilling of all people. Do you know who Curt Schilling is?
He's a commentator, isn't he?
He was an analyst on ESPN.
Okay.
He was fired last month. Speaking of badasses, Curt Schilling was a badass pitcher. Should be in the Hall of Fame. Might not get there, at least for a while, because of his political views. But all-star, killer pitcher since retired. Was fired by ESPN last month over a meme he reposted that was very derogatory. How can I say this without saying it? It had to do with the whole North Carolina so-called bathroom law thing. Uh-huh. Picture of it. Yeah, it was bad. But Schilling is Schilling. I mean, this is who is he and what he does. So anyway, he got fired over that. But so anyway, on Wednesday... well, let's fast forward to Monday. Monday is the 72nd anniversary of D-Day, right? Uh-huh. All right, so on Wednesday, the White House announced President Obama's activities for the day. You know what he's going to be doing?
What's he going to do?
He's going to be honoring the Denver Broncos for their victory over the Carolina Panthers in Super Bowl 50. That's his activity for the day.
Really? Okay. I guess that works.
Schilling was pissed. Now, I'm sure the White House will send out an official tweet, maybe put something on the White House webpage. It'll probably include a picture of Obama. Remember when we went through that for a while? Do you remember that? Like every picture of something
everything was something he
would be in it.
Him. Yeah,
he would be in it. The anniversary of Pearl Harbor, he was in it. There was even like when Neil Armstrong died, first guy to walk on the moon, right?
Yeah.
Neil Armstrong dies, and this is a true story. They say something about Neil Armstrong dying, but there's a picture, and it's kind of like a kind of a 45 degree angle silhouette, if you will, kind of from the back corner of Obama staring up wistfully at a full moon. That's true story.
I did not see that one. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of them.
Oh,
Zip,
man, that's funny.
Zip at Weasel Zipper.
Yeah.
Zip's place. He always he puts everyone up. They're hilarious. But anyway, so Schilling when he learned that on Wednesday, he put a post up on his Facebook page. By the way, I just put this up on Independent Journal Review this morning, and it's all the links are there and the whole bit. By the way, you guys, it's injo.com. You can read all my stuff there, as well as lots of other good writers. I'm going to read this and see if I might. Now I'll read the whole thing. I mean, it's good enough for Facebook. It's good enough for our show, right? So here's Schilling's response to Obama's activities this coming D-Day anniversary. I'm now 100% convinced the president has absolutely zero concern with public opinion, or he's subliminally telling us to F off. I won't read that one. On June 6, 2016, the anniversary of the greatest invasion mankind has ever known, headed by our greatest generation, this ass invited the Denver Broncos to the White House. Screw logistics. You're the president. You get what you want when you want it. This is, again, an intentional slight at our past. What an asshole. It pains me to say things like that about our president, but he clearly doesn't give a shit.
Wow.
That's why Schilling got fired a month ago. Stuff like that. Stuff like that. I love it.
I mean, he definitely does not mince words.
Yeah, so he got that out of his system, right?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
He kept going?
Well, he surprise call into the Buck Sexton's show, who was guest hosted by Michael Pelka. This is on the Blaze. Oh. We're not going to play any of that, but I've embedded about a 5-minute clip. Well, it's a little bit long. It's actually a 9-minute clip. But anyway, he called into the Blaze radio last night and just continued to skewer Obama.
Really?
Yeah. And here's part, I just read a little quote, but he says, this is again, quote, I am incredibly disappointed in the perception that this president continues to put off. I don't believe our president hates our country, unlike a lot of people, but I do believe the amount of disrespect that he repeatedly shows for veterans and their families, it sickens me. Now, I believe somewhere in between. I believe that Obama intentionally does crap like this, and you can tell me I'm wrong, but it's just who he is. I mean, he goes to, when did he go to Hiroshima? Like the week before Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy, to his point, to Schilling's point on Facebook, this guy, he's the president of the freaking United States, right? He can control the logistics. And there are just too many examples of the timing of stuff he does, and, certain Islamic holidays that he will make a big deal out of, and then he'll kind of, happy Easter and stuff. And do you think I'm all wet about that?
I definitely think he does try to irk the conservatives. Like, he definitely does do things with the intent of pissing people off.
I don't think there's a question. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if all of them are intentional, or because like sometimes he's just aloof, Schilling said too, maybe some of it's subliminal. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think some of the times it's just like because there was times where they did tweets and stuff where it was just like didn't make any sense, or when he did the thing where he was like, this bridge needs to get fixed and blah 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 blah, and that wasn't even the bridge. That was they were at the wrong bridge. I feel like some of it's bad staff work.
I'm going to take back my agreeing with him on subliminal. I think it's more like he just has different priorities. There's just different stuff to this guy. He's right. He's a globalist, and he is, yes. Right? Mm-hmm. There are just things that are less important to him that I think are more important to mainstream America.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I want to talk to you about a poll that came out and do a little kind of quiz with you.
Okay.
This is NBC News, Wall Street Journal poll. It's about Trump and Hillary, and let's hit Trump first before we do the who's better at than part. Okay, that's the kind of quiz part I want to do. Okay. About Trump's lack of government and or military experience among all registered voters, right? How do they feel about that? Well, 5% of them are enthusiastic, and I suspect that's the ones that really hate the government, that they don't want anybody that has anything to do, right? Mm-hmm. 5% enthusiastic, 15% comfortable, 19% have some reservations. Now, this starts to get into, I think this guy is a dead duck in November, but for lots of different reasons, but very uncomfortable, 42%, makes no difference, 19%. But here's this is almost kind of who'd you rather, okay?
Yeah.
Politically speaking, of course. Would Trump or Clinton be better at, okay, first of all, changing business as usual in Washington?
I think they would go with Trump on that.
They go with Trump on that by better than 2-1, 55-22%. Protecting America's interests on trade issues.
I think they'd go with Trump on that too.
They did. It's closer, 48-38. Dealing with Wall Street.
I would think they'd go with Trump on that.
They did by almost 2-1. Dealing with the economy.
I think they'd go with Trump on that too.
Yup. Standing up for America.
They'd go with Trump on that.
Okay, 46-32. Dealing with immigration.
Yeah, I think they'd go with Trump on that as well.
They went with Hillary.
They went with Hillary on dealing with immigration?
Barely, margin of error, 45-42.
Wow.
Making appointments to SCOTUS, Supreme Court Justice nominations.
Ooh, yeah, I think they'd go, okay, I'm going to go Trump, I guess.
See, I would have thought that as well, but 47-34 Hillary.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Being a good commander-in-chief.
So, I think, they did immigration and SCOTUS for, okay, I'm going to say Hillary this time.
Hillary, 43-33.
Yeah.
Looking out for the middle class.
Looking out for the middle class. Oh my gosh, either one of them would be terrible for that.
Well, I think so. Yeah.
I guess they'll go with Hillary.
They go with Hillary.
Yeah.
How about handling foreign policy?
Handling foreign policy. Well, I'm gonna say Trump.
She kills him, 56-29.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's the whole, the most, as Nancy Pelosi has told us on multiple occasions, the most qualified person in the history of the universe to be elected president in 2016 based on her vast experience and tremendous accomplishments as Secretary of State. Of course, as Carly Fiorina said of Hillary's experience, racking up miles is not experience, right? Travel much. Having the ability to unite the country.
I guess I'd go with Hillary on that.
You know what? And I have to agree with it. I mean, and not that it's necessarily Trump's fault. I mean, one only need look at what happened in San Jose last night, which was worse so far than about anything. And there's been some bad stuff. And finally, this one is good. Now, you're going to really be torn on this one, right? You're going to have to dealing with issues of concern to women.
Oh, they're going to go with Hillary on that.
Yeah, Hillary edged him out 63-16 on
wow.
on that one.
That's a big difference.
And again, a poll is I have you have love-hate relationships with polls. I mean, people like them when they say what they want them to say, and they hate them when they don't. But still, a poll is a static, kind of snapshot in time. And I really don't have a lot of use for polls like the, the networks break this stuff like, okay, new poll out, Trump leads nationally 45-42 or whatever, mm-hmm. or vice versa. I don't think it matters not a damn. I mean, it's not a national election. It's 50 state elections, and that is much more relevant in the race for 270. But I think a poll like this kind of crosses over into whether you're talking nationally or on a state-by-state basis, because these are the things that cause people to vote or not vote. And I think that, this thing we know that women tend to vote a bit more than do men, and he's getting killed. He's getting killed among white women. You have nearly 45% of Republican women who are uncomfortable with him. They've not said they necessarily, it's not never Trump in a lot of cases. But so I think dude's got some problems. But
I think he does have some problems. I do find it interesting because like a lot of the really rabid Trump supporters I know are women. So that's interesting. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Most of them, the rabid ones, I mean, you look at some of my threads, right? Some of the really rabid ones on my page are women. I would say the majority of them are.
Yeah, so it's interesting that like he has that kind of following, but he's still doing really bad with women.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's going to get any better.
Oh, I don't think so. Yeah.
So we need to get out of here, don't we?
Yes, we have a break.
All right, you guys, don't go away. This has been fun. Man, 1/2 hours fly by, don't they? Grab some popcorn, come back, ring up a friend or two, and tell them to listen. This is Mike and Jessica. We'll be right back.
Doug, I never thought I could go back to school, but when it's this easy, it fits.
I'm right there with you, Jackie, taking classes, watching lectures in the living room on the iPad. It's not hard.
I can be a mom, make dinner, get my classwork done, and not miss a moment with my family. It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Hey, it's Jackie Velasquez, and if Doug and I can do this, you can do this too. Higher education with Liberty University Online.
Find out more about completing your college degree at the world's largest Christian university, Liberty University. Get all the details right now. Grab your cell and dial pound 250. When prompted, say the keyword Liberty University.
Training champions for Christ since 1971, Liberty University Online. Find out more about learning online. Dial pound 250, then say the keyword Liberty University.
Liberty University Online with hundreds of degree programs to choose from. Call now, pound 250. Say the keyword Liberty University.
That's pound 250. Say keyword Liberty University.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
So it's been all over, the news, but all over Drudging this morning, and it being this latest mob. I mean, it's a mob. This latest I hate to call them protesters because they're more than that. I mean, it doesn't do it justice. I mean, they are thugs. I mean, it's been out there that many of them have been hired. I don't know if that's true or not, but San Jose, I mean, just kind of, looking above the fold, if you will, using an old newspaper term, on the Drudge Report, upper left-hand corner, that they run those links. Trump supporters terrorized by mob. Quote, never seen anything like that in America. Campaigners chased down like prey. I was telling Jessica during the break, I put an image, it's somebody's tweet, and I think it's a liberal journalist. I put that up on just for the heck of it on Facebook earlier, and the reporter says no supporter of any candidate should have to run for their lives from protesters. And you see this guy scared as can be running, and just in this image is a close-in shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people chasing him like they want to catch him and just beat his ass. And if you look at this guy, I mean, he looks like a clean-cut dude. I mean, he's got like a polo T-shirt on and shorts, and thankfully he has running shoes on. And he's got the knee about waist high. He's hoofing it to get away from these people, Jessica.
That's crazy. That is so crazy to me that people think that that's okay.
Yeah, and like we were talking off air, you have, and this is always the case. You have the peace-loving liberals, versus the evil, warlike conservatives. But you pointed out the Occupy Wall Street crowd, right, and things that they did.
Where there was a bunch of women that got raped. They actually had to start jailing people.
Rocks thrown through windows.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then it's just, and then their whole point, like, they're totally messing up their own agenda by doing things like this, because you can at least try to fool people into going along with your craziness if you act like a respectful person. Like, and instead of doing this, that's not how you get what you want.
Yeah, you had the Nazi-like, and I'm being facetious, of course, Tea Party. They would have events in D.C. and places, and they would clean up after themselves and put things in the trash. And, I was talking to my wife this morning about, I don't know if it was a San Jose thing or something else, but she does a home office day on Fridays. So I'd make her talk about politics a little bit, whether she wants to or not. But so it just occurs to me, and it's not just on the left. Just look, within the Republican Party at the virulence that continues between Trump fans and Cruz fans, right?
Oh, gosh, it's so crazy.
You look at it out of politics, and I said everything, and again, everything pejorative, but lots of stuff these days seems to be taken to the extreme, and I think that's the operative word, right? Whether it's politics,
extreme, yeah.
Go ahead.
It is. It's very extreme, and it was actually, it was funny that you mentioned the Ted Cruz thing, because yesterday he said that in his speech. He at one point was like, "Oh, well, we're not going to say lying Ted no more. It's lying Hillary, and we love Ted now." Like, so
yeah, I love this crooked Hillary and dangerous Donald. What a popcorn grab in the next several months. But it's just not in politics. I want to get back to this word extreme. It just seems to me that there's so many areas. Some of it is social. Some of it is, heck, you just look at gun violence now. And again, I'm just kind of rambling here on purpose. But I don't like what you did. I'm going to shoot you. You're dead. Look at it's just the extreme behavior. Gosh, I'm going to sound like a arch conservative here, but in some music, certainly in some other forms of media, it just seems like extreme. Like it's either on a 0 or 10, right? It's like I'm either not for something or I'm full blown, and I think that's kind of permeated politics now. It wasn't anywhere near like this in 2012, just 4 years ago.
I think it's gotten worse, but I think it's gotten worse progressively in the last 10 years. And also, it's like what you were saying. It's, people calling for violence on, like we talked about with the Glenn Beck thing, where she was definitely calling for violence against Trump. But then you also have, the person that will go shoot up an abortion clinic, or the other persons, the people that were like, hey,
exactly.
Those people that killed the gorilla should be murdered. And
you took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly correct. Kill the parents.
Yeah, and they all go, they're all very different belief systems, but they all their first call is for death. And it's just insane.
It's again, that word extreme, right? I don't like what you did. You either need to die, and that's the real extreme. But even as you see on Facebook, the name calling, and I don't know how many people. Mark Tapson, Tapson. He's at least by all appearances, Tapson, pretty sweet, kind of down to earth, calm guy, right? Mm-hmm. Very polite. The guy's a brilliant writer. He writes generally about culture. He's not really even a political pundit. He has some views, which is part of why I like to have him on. But he doesn't say it's with regret, but I saw another one today, a post that Tapson put up on Facebook, and, I was somewhat shocked, a good longtime friend, Trump supporter. I said, I'm not voting for Trump, the names he called me, and I was forced to, to unfriend him. Some people say defriend. I think unfriend makes more sense. But, but you have that going on. You have family members not talking to each other right now over, and it's not like it's between Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz. It's between two Republicans, or at least a pretend Republican and a conservative. Within the own party, but just everything is so extreme now.
Yeah, it's I agree with that. It's very scary.
It really is scary, and there's no reason to believe that it's going to get less scary before it gets more scary.
I don't think it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I think you look to the California primary next week. We're going to see violence multiple locations there. We're going to see violence at the Republican National Convention in July in Cleveland. I suspect we're going to see, I don't know necessarily violence, maybe, but some pretty virulent Bernie supporters wrecking havoc. I mean, it's like 1968 at the conventions all over again. And I don't think you can blame it all on Donald Trump. I mean,
oh no, you can't. You definitely cannot. No, it's where our politics have gotten us. Everybody's very disgruntled. Everyone is. That's the only thing people can agree on, is that they're upset.
And I do think that and of course Barack Obama being the perfect don't get me started on Barack Obama, but I think that the toothpaste being kind of let out of the tube incrementally over the last 4 years in terms of a lot of things, that became okay. And we don't need to get into a debate about, the various social beliefs or lack thereof. But I think that Barack Obama has emboldened people, right? I think Barack Obama certainly emboldened black folks to the extent that Black Lives Matter became what it became. And I think Black Lives Matter emboldens other people. And I think that Barack Obama bears as much. If we're going to blame a couple of guys, I'd throw a little there as well. I wonder, what I don't wonder, if Ted Cruz were a nominee instead of the presumptive nominee instead of Donald Trump, we'd be seeing the same thing.
Oh, I think we still would. Yes, definitely.
And were it Rubio, I suspect close. I mean, it's almost a powder keg. And I think, like we said, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. So we'll see what happens next week. Let's shift gears a little bit. We got some more cubes in the news. Mark Cuban, I love Mark Cuban. Right? We played a couple of clips, haven't we, of Cuban?
Yes,
talking about
talking
about his pal, Donald Trump. He says they have a love-hate relationship. The last clips we played, it was more hate than love. Well, I have a clip here that we want to play. This is actually a SoundCloud embed that I sent to Jessica. This makes sense. This is not Cuban hammering Donald Trump. I put this up yesterday on the IJR, and it's doing well because I think that this is really kind of stuff that certainly Trump fans don't think about. But we have this clip. Let's listen to it, and then maybe talk about it a little bit afterwards. Mark Cuban on WABC's Sid and Bernie yesterday.
Oh, it just reset.
That's okay.
Is it not doing it?
What he's talking about, I'm not going to go through it, but people focusing on not necessarily bragging about what they're good at, but being aware of what they're not good at.
Yes, okay.
He's on CNBC. I know you know who Ron is.
Yeah,
right. And Ron will tell me every time he comes on the program that don't confuse wealth with a good businessman. He does not believe that Donald Trump is a great businessman on the same plateau as you or Warren Buffett or any of those guys, yet he's made tons of money. Do you agree with Ron? You can be very wealthy and successful in business, but not necessarily be a great businessman.
Well, nobody's great in business at everything, right? And so what I look at, like I try to stick to tech deals because that's what I know. And every now and then I'll delve out into other things that I might think are interesting, or there's a good or philanthropic reason to do it. And so I'll dip my toes, like you see it in Shark Tank all the time.
Right.
Because they're smaller investments. I'll take a chance in a person. But I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at. I'm not so sure Donald knows what he's not good at. So what he's done well is put his name on big buildings, right? he appears to have done well putting his name, through a licensing arrangement on hotels and buildings, and he's good at that. Now, whether or not that's made him a billionaire, I don't know. He's not transparent enough for us to really know. But there's a lot of things, like a lot of us, where he just is horrible at it. And it's interesting because if you look at his FEC file, it's the Federal Election Committee filing, and I was curious because you have to list your cash and you have to list all your businesses, and so I was curious to see. And so when you go through the filings, you can see what the time periods that certain types of businesses were his hot buttons, like 2007, 2008. He set up all these companies to license the Donald Trump name, and then he got into golf courses and et cetera, in the hotels. And so I think he's good at real estate. I do give him a lot of credit there. I think he's good at branding real estate. I don't think he's very good at brands for non-real estate products. And to me, it was more of a reflection of desperation. So when you're putting your name on steaks and you're putting your name on water, you're putting your name on playing cards, you're putting your name on all this nonsense, right? You're not going to make big bucks no matter what, right? It's not like, Trump steaks were going to make him $100 million. It's not like they were going to make him $5 million. So, I asked him, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Are you that desperate for money? Seriously, thinking it this way. Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
Commercial reads for products all the time, right? And there's some products you're just going to say, there's no way I'm going to read this stuff. And he just doesn't have that ability to say no if someone's going to write him a check. And I think that's a huge problem.
Okay, so we have Mark Cuban on with Bernie and Sid on WABC. And you're right, Mark. He's not big on details, but it's his instincts. His appeal is visceral. A nation of suckers no more is what he says. What is wrong with
Cuban? Of course, Trump wasn't there to join him in the pissing contest, but a couple of billionaires trying to figure out, I'm richer than it says that's fine. I mean, that goes with that territory. And the larger issue than the failure of Trump steaks and Trump water and Trump University and all that kind of stuff, the larger point that Cuban correctly made is it's great to know what you're good at, Jessica, but you probably in life end up doing better, or at least as well, by understanding what you're not good at and taking steps to help others do it for you or help you succeed, right?
Yes, I agree.
And yeah, and Trump sucks at that, as far as a lot of us can see, and of course his the Trump Oompas would. I got to quit saying that because my intent is actually to increase audience size, and it dawns on me that probably doesn't.
It doesn't help.
That doesn't help that happen. Okay, the average Trump supporter would probably object to what I just said. Well, how do you know what he does? He's created more jobs and built more stuff, and he's $10 billion and all whatever have you. But to Cuban's point, and it's irrefutable fact, the dude has failed at lots of stuff he's allowed his name to be slapped on.
I think he does. I think to his point, I think if anybody offers him money, he's going to try it. And I think a part of it's his ego. I think part of it is...
that's exactly what I was going to say, right?
Yeah, anything that, like, I know I can do anything, so...
And the more stuff, the more crap I have my name on, the more people will love me and the bigger deal I am. No, I think there's certainly a degree to that. But then who are some of the famous old names? And, everything from jewelry to watches to purses to Gucci and different stuff or whatever. That might even not be a good example, but people that have sold brands, have prostituted brands, have whored out once reputable names to the extent that they're a joke at Walmart now.
Exactly.
So, but now again, all that aside, all of the product failures aside, that basic mentality is what makes, in my mind, or at least a large part of what potentially makes an effective president an effective president, a great president a great president. Jimmy Carter was smart as hell. So like a nuclear, he was an engineer on a nuclear sub. Jimmy Carter always thought he was the smartest person in the room, and he micromanaged the crap out of everything. most of us would, most historians would say, at least in terms of modern presidents, the worst, right? My friend Joel says, although my friend Joel says that Jimmy Carter lived long enough to only be the second worst president in history, and of course he's talking about Obama.
Yeah.
But Ronald Reagan, many think not a genius, not an intellectual. Ronald Reagan surrounded himself with damn good people. W. Bush, although I've certainly had my issues with George W. in terms of the debt and the like. George had some pretty decent people around him. And I think that you look at an effective CEO of a lot of companies, most companies, I would submit, know how to surround themselves with people that know more about stuff than they do, right? But they're able to listen, glean from different folks, and then make decisions accordingly. And one wonders, at least this one wonders, with Trump's ego, is he one of those people that can do that? Certainly not as it relates to Mr. Trump. We really don't think you should put your name on cat litter.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it would change. I think, I mean, I feel like he has been listening to people in his political campaign, but he still is going to be, I think he has, yes, for some things, I think he has, because he has been, I think I've noticed him couching things more. He's still Donald Trump. He's still going to be over the top. He's still going to be that. But when he first started running, where there were 16 candidates, I noticed a bit of a shift now.
Well, there's like 16 of them are gone. But no, I hear what you're saying. But I mean, like, the Twitter war that he's into. Hillary was late to Donald's Twitter party, but damn, she's making up for lost time. I mean, we don't have time to get into that today, I don't think. But man, they've been going at each other. Like she gave it was supposed to be this major foreign policy speech yesterday, right?
Yeah.
She just mocked and skewered in a condescending fashion, hammered Trump. In fact, I put a post up. This is one of the ones I did this morning, where he responded to it. He wasn't even angry. I mean, she really skewered him. And all he said was it was a bad speech. She reads lousy from a teleprompter, not qualified to be president. Of course, that was part of her whole speech, was that he doesn't have the proper temperament to do any intelligent work involving being president of the United States. She comes back with a tweet at him. I'm off on a little tangent here, but comes back with a tweet at him, or a tweet about him. And again, we know she has people that write this stuff for her, but she wonders if the anger he shows on Twitter, how he would handle that if he had a nuclear arsenal at his disposal. I mean, so this thing is pretty, but at any rate, so Trump, let me get back on track in terms of whether or not he's learned and listened. Have you paid much attention to, the comments he's been making about this U.S. Circuit Court judge that is presiding over the lawsuit against Trump University?
I did not watch that, no.
Yeah, well, he's because the guy is a Mexican, the quotes that therefore he's biased and he's a terrible judge. He hates Trump. This is Trump. I'm paraphrasing Trump.
Oh, wow.
Trump's been slamming the crap out of this guy. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm just thinking, like if I'm if there's a lawsuit hanging over my head and the judge that's presiding over the case, if I'm calling him names and how terrible he is and he should be ashamed of himself and whatever, I'm just thinking that's maybe not the best strategy.
Yeah, probably not good.
No, he's been hammering this guy. Now, this started last week. There was a ruling by this judge. By the way, this guy that Trump has said he is, we believe, Mexican. Okay, that's part of a direct quote from Trump. This guy was born in Indiana of Mexican immigrant parents. Okay. Mm-hmm. In fact, he's done a lot of work. The circuit judge, U.S. District Judge Gonzalo Curiel. He's done a lot of work in terms of illegal immigration stuff. Stand-up guy, but Trump has been hammering this guy. Megyn Kelly went off on one of Trump's lackeys on Monday This guy just cracks me up. His name's David Wall. That's neither here or there. But so that happened. Donald has doubled down on this guy, so last night she had poor old Bill Bennett on. He was like in the Reagan administration, and he tried to get a word in edgewise here and there, but she was just using him as a sounding board, and she was just skewering Donald Trump. I think that whatever the criticism she took for supposedly folding up like a cheap lawn chair during her Megyn Kelly Presents special during that discussion with Trump, that's pretty much over. But he just, I don't know. I don't know if he's learned or not.
Yeah, I don't think he doesn't. He does what he does, but
and you know what? And that's as far as he can see it. But because I'm pretty sure he thinks, all right, it got me where I got. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I tried to abuse as many words in there as I possibly could, right? Like hey, look where I am. It got me here, and if I do the same thing against Hillary, crooked Hillary, philandering Bill, the rapist, then it'll win me the presidency, and it won't.
Yeah.
Because he has to appeal to more people than he appealed to become the presumptive nominee.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do we want to play the clip?
I don't. Well, no, it's too long.
Okay.
It's like a 5-minute clip.
Okay.
That's why I kind of talked through it.
All right.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think he gets that part, and I suspect there are people that are telling him that. That's why I really question. Remember, Corey Lewandowski, his guy, right? The one that kind of temporarily got in trouble for supposedly pushing Michelle Fields to Breitbart, that whole thing.
That whole mess.
Yeah, she ends up looking like an idiot, and rightly so. And so in the meantime, he hires this Washington insider, right? Lobbyist Paul Manafort, long history in Republican politics, to come in and right the ship. Manafort starts telling him right away, you got to quit being so like you. And, you quit attacking people. No, I'm not going to do it. So, Manafort's still there. But he brings Lewandowski back, and who knows? I mean, it seems to me like there may be at best or worst, depending on who you are, kind of co-running the thing. I just wonder how much he listens.
Yeah, like I said, it's only been a slight difference that I've seen, but I think that he I mean, even the speech yesterday, I just think that like the way he's been changing some stuff up, I heard it and I was like, he's still going to say what he wants to say, but he is, I think he's at least taking it in. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. And of course, he has no Republicans to bash anymore. And of course, Ryan came out and begrudgingly endorsed him in his hometown newspaper yesterday. Did you see that?
I did see that. That was interesting.
Yeah, so you got that going on. Of course, now there are people calling for Ryan to be, drawn and quartered on our side. This is kind of what we were talking about the other day. If I'm not, if you're not 100% of what I think you should be, if you're only 80, then you deserve to be drawn and quartered. So now Ryan is scum. These terms are thrown around so loosely now in social media. And I used to think, we always used to say how, the strategy of the Republicans during a presidential cycle was the proverbial circular firing squad, right? With guns pointed in. We're going to shoot ourselves and do the Democrats a favor. I mean, that stuff now looks like child's play based on what we have going on now. All right, I want to do one more quick thing, totally away, just to kind of give you a little bit of food for thought heading into the weekend in terms of one more example of crazy town that this country has become. Jessica, Texas high school students won't be allowed to wear National Honor Society stoles during graduation so other students won't feel left out.
That's ridiculous.
Plano, Texas, baby. National Honor Society. Stoles are frequent sight. Well, we don't have time to go all into that. But yeah, that's it. I mean, that's all we need to know. You can't wear it because it's not fair. We don't want other people to feel left out.
You did really well in school, and you can't have any honors for it. That's crazy.
Yeah, nobody can see it because they'll get butt hurt. Speaking of butthurt, we are, because we're out of here, and we have a weekend coming up. You guys enjoy it. We enjoy you listening to us, and we'll be back on Monday. This is Mike Miller, Jessica Jane. Have a great weekend. Thanks.